Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Toonkind at 12 FPS. This is Life in Your Hands. I am Oatmeal, and I'll be playing the professor. And with me is.
Hi, I am Fletch, also known as Fletcher, and I will be playing Camille today. Um, as a note, there may be some technical issues further in the FPS because Discord is currently in the middle of an outage.
Mhm.
Uh, we're going to see if we can do this in one straight go, but if there's a sudden cut or jump, that is why.
Indeed. Uh, yeah, so. Um, yeah, also of note, this is, check the warnings. This is spoilers for, the games The Mercenaries and The Diamond of Despair. Um,
If the title card didn't tip you off.
yeah, yeah. And, uh, yeah, probably Angsty. There's some warnings in there you should probably know about. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, this is probably it's at least 24 hours because 24 hours after Professor got rescued because that's kind of how long it took him to uh, come around and be like fully lucid. And he's had a few conversations with people uh, already. I think probably at least Tome and Arata. Moria's uh I've played, but I might set it a little later. But um yeah, it's been wild, and Camille hasn't had a one-on-one with Professor yet.
hmm Yeah, he's mostly, I guess he's like kind of been in crisis mode for a bit now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing better than most of the people directly involved were.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so he's kind of taken it upon himself to make sure that uh things are going to go smoothly in terms of people's recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and also that no one tries to ignore their wounds for too long or
Mm-hmm.
ignore their mental health or overwork themselves, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Um, but he should probably talk to the professor at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, he's on the couch, and if I should have had my dice out. But let's see if the professor is awake or not. Yeah, I can roll with this one. Yeah, he's awake.
All right.
Um, he's uh, honestly probably not doing much of anything. Um, he just isn't asleep, but he's still just kind of laying on the couch doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Which is to say he's probably bored out of his mind, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Camille would probably come in with some snacks to put on the table for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And on seeing that the professor is awake, he kind of just go, uh, how are you doing?
Hey, um, fine, I guess. I mean, better than I was earlier, obviously.
Yeah, one would certainly hope so. Is there anything you need?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything.
Well, you want books or puzzles? I imagine it's probably not fun just sitting there.
No. Uh, hmm. I don't know. It's kind of uncomfortable still to have to uh, hold a book up or sit up to do something interesting. So,
Yes, it's fair. Uh, I could put the TV on for you.
sure.
And Camille will grab the remote and flip the TV on. He's probably, if not stopped, going to default switch it to like a channel that's playing like a noir or mystery or something.
The old like black and white Herlock Sholmes movies.
Yes, tried and true entertainment.
Yeah. He has
He'll
not
hand the professor.
stopped.
Yeah, he'll hand the professor the remote, of course, but like, you gotta get it on something good first.
Mhm. Yeah, he'll take it, but he seems fine with this selection.
All right.
What about you? Uh, have you um, you weren't involved in the fights? I've been told that. At least, uh, not directly.
Mm-hmm. Uh, since things were well, since it was such a tense situation, we figured that would be the best idea. Um,
Yes, I would agree.
and besides, you can't really secretly make sure everyone's still alive if there's not
Yes,
someone there to help out.
right. Yes. You were sick before this. Are you feeling any better or?
Oh, yeah, a bit of yeah, I really just needed a little bit more rest. I'm fine now.
Okay.
I'm just glad that Leo didn't come down with it.
Ah, yes. Hmm. Thank you, by the way, for uh, everything.
Oh, of course. You're a very important person to a lot of people and to me. So, of course, we'd do anything to get you back.
Thanks.
He gives the professor a smile. Besides, it really does suck to be kidnapped.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Absolutely. Uh, really, really very annoying when it happens.
Camille nods. Yeah. Well, at least everyone won't be yelling at you for getting into a dangerous situation on purpose.
Hmm.
So that's one positive.
Hmm. He does give him a slightly wry look.
Liz, I learned my lesson.
Hmm.
Though, um,
Hmm.
I do have a question,
Hmm.
and it may be a little bit of a stupid one.
Well, that's fine.
So, is Ivan weird for being named Ivan, or are you weird for being named the professor? Because the whole reason why I went with the ambassador was because I just thought that's how your names worked.
Hmm. Right. Well, uh, uh, there are, uh, there are some, um, hmm. Actually, can I use something for the, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see something very quick. Hmm. That's not what I was looking for. Uh, well, this page is severely unhelpful.
That's fair.
Um,
It really is like that sometimes.
yeah, I was trying to look something up, but whatever. Um, well, a lot of people have a title for a name. Um, uh, some have uh, a sort of uh, hmm, uh, a just really a sort of long name. Um, something like something with 7 syllables. Um, and some have names that are uh, a bit more um, regular, a bit more like what would be a normal name around here. Let's see, the name Rubosa isn't an especially odd name. Um, uh, Ivan is strange um, in having two names, or two names in the sense that they're, well, it's not names separated by space are not common. It's usually um, uh, all one thing, but uh, his name is Ivan Bavertiel, and you can call him just Ivan or just Bavertiel, and that is odd.
I'd see. So, what you're saying is that times our naming conventions are a mess?
Uh, yes. There's like two, well, I guess three main conventions, and then his is just kind of, an unusual offshoot of one of them.
Real nods.
So, yes, it is a mess.
Like, he is very interested, and he does enjoy learning about this.
Mm,
It is confirming his theory that the naming conventions are a mess.
yes, absolutely.
That it does make a little bit of sense considering how weird everything else times ours are.
Mm-hmm. I think he just was calling himself the ambassador so that uh, nobody could immediately twig that, if he was heard of by name, nobody would immediately twig that he was, my brother, in case I had talked about him.
I guess that makes sense.
I mean, that's just the sort of, uh, just the sort of, safeguard I would see him using.
You'll nod. Yeah, that does make some sort of sense. He's certainly not one to judge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he sure did pick an interesting name to go with.
Yes. Yes, I do wonder why that one in particular. Uh, the ambassador, I mean. Um,
Yeah.
Even for a pseudonym, well, time stars, aside from me, don't use pseudonyms lightly, and don't pick pseudonyms lightly if they have to use them. Um, it must have some sort of meaning to him. It, I don't know what it means. It doesn't
Well,
make sense with how he was when I left.
I mean, he didn't exactly have a peaceful way of doing it, but I guess ambassadors are normally people who travel to different lands to better understand something or to reach a conclusion.
Oh, maybe. Maybe that is it. I suppose I'll have to ask. Maybe.
Um, and I think he's not quite sure how to phrase this, but he does kind of look at the professor for a moment because there's the subject of brothers is something that is
Mm.
uh quite close to his heart,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but he's again not quite sure how to word his thoughts.
You, have questions, I imagine?
Well, I am a detective.
Hmm.
Kind of what we do.
That's true.
crime happens. You come in to investigate, ask a lot of questions, figure out who needs to be arrested.
Hmm.
The usual.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
he just sort of
uh,
gestures.
oh, um, I guess you probably have an understanding of how a relationship between brothers would be like on for most people in Ninquell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it different with time stars?
Yes, it's hmm. Yes and no. Uh, it's it's not the same, but it isn't so different, so divorced from the idea as to be completely alien. Um, we had a sort of childish camaraderie growing up, although we didn't always get along. We did fight, um, but we supported each other in our own ways, uh, even when we were at odds about certain things. But I don't I don't think I can say we were ever as close as um, you and Leo, for example.
He nods and he does seem to relax a little bit at that because otherwise that would probably make a few things even worse.
Mm-hmm. We butted heads a lot, but um, I didn't. Well, I didn't hate him back then.
And do you hate him now?
I I did before this whole thing, and now I'm not sure because the premise, the basis of why I hated him, turns out to be false.
What happened with the rest of your family, I mean?
Yes, I thought he was, if not responsible, at least complicit because he because I saw a message, a hologram of him returning my call, um, and insisting on the lie that uh, I needn't worry about anything because they never had existed. But I
Hey,
I knew better.
you go.
I I knew better than to believe that lie. I didn't know better than to. I didn't suspect that the hologram was faked.
I mean, considering how most people would, uh, emotional state most people would be in that situation, uh, I don't think someone can necessarily blame you for not being in a clear state of mind.
No, no. I I'm trying not to be too annoyed uh, over that. I mean, it's frustrating, but it does make sense. And it's not like I could have even ruminated on it in the time in between, because most of most of the most of the memories surrounding that time were suppressed. Not they were my mind was tampered with. And if I tried to access certain memories from my past, from my distant past, like that, I wouldn't be able to. And usually I would get a headache. Until more recently, with the help of some friends, I was able to sort them out, sort the memories out properly, and figure out which ones were right, and actually access them without it physically hurting.
Neil nods at that. He is taking in all this information. And do you know who tampered with those memories?
Yes, it was the same people who were behind the whole thing. It was it was this cult, a group of time czars, a secret group of time czars who essentially idolized one of the three ancient founders of our society. There was there was Tassalon, Epsilon, and the Extra, and they were the cult of the Extra. And they messed with my memory after the event occurred, and before I left the planet, so that I wouldn't be able to remember any of it properly. I would get mixed up. They planted false scenarios.
Yes, that does put some context to what you two are talking about.
Hmm. It,
You go.
it was kind of convoluted and frustratingly stupid scheme. It didn't do what they wanted it to do, but they sure did have quite the impact.
Definitely did make quite the mess.
Yes.
Do you know why? Are they still a danger?
I I know why. I don't think they're still a danger. I they had I was able to gather, they had this thesis, when I was able to actually remember the brainwashing I was able to understand. They thought that I was the reincarnation, not regeneration, the reincarnation of the extra. He, they had just kind of disappeared and presumably died. I mean, it was billions of years ago. But they, something about me and their fanaticism, something about me made them think that I was I was them. Reborn into another form. And they wanted, they needed me to, they wanted me to realize who I was, who I really was, so that I would lead them into a new age of change and interference and reform on Falagray. But I didn't, I wasn't doing what they wanted. I wasn't focusing on politics or social change. I was building a family, and they decided that for me to realize who I really was, they needed to strip all of that away. And so they did. I suspect that Ivan was not available to be targeted because they struck all at once, and he was literally having a meal with the Tsar president. They could hardly send a separate assassin there and have them not be noticed. So they did that, and they messed with my memories, and I'm pretty sure they expected me to become myself, become the extra upon my next regeneration. But when I did finally die of old age, I was just me. I'm not the extra, and I never have been. I'm not their reincarnation or anything like that. They were simply wrong. So, unless they're more stubborn than I think, and more stupid than I think, they should have realized by now, another 2 regenerations later, that I'm not who they thought I was.
That's stupid.
I know. I know. I know it is. It's really stupid. And
Yeah.
it hurts that that's the reason they're gone.
Yeah. The worst cases are always the ones where there is no good reason.
Mm-hmm. So
And
I just. It happened and I escaped. I left Ivan and I brought Sharon with me. I managed to save her, at least.
yeah. And he climbs up onto the couch to sit near the professor because, man,
Mm-hmm.
that, for lack of better words, that's rough, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He reaches over and just kind of runs his hand over his hair affectionately.
Um, let's hope that they're not a danger. Though, judging from what Ivan said, I think he's about to make sure of that.
I expect so. I. That's, not something he would take lying down. Because they. He wasn't. Um. He wasn't really a family man. I mean, hence why he wasn't there at the gathering that day, and instead schmoozing with the leaders. But uh, he he wasn't. He was never a family man, but it was still his family, and that's for them to have removed that and gotten away with it is, at the very least, uh, a massive blow to his pride.
Not to mention being framed for 600 or so years, if I remember correctly.
Yes, being framed, in my mind, at least. Um, I think if the rest of Falagray thought he did it, uh, he probably would be a renegade at this point, like me.
That does make sense. It does seem like he cares what you think, even if it's in a really weird, self-centered and arrogant way.
Yeah. Part of it's, I suppose, that I'm probably one of the only uh, possible reliable sources on this incident. But then again, he did just kind of believe me immediately.
Yeah,
Not like I would lie about something like that anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been interesting trying to figure out how I feel about him now because I I I've mentioned to a few others he didn't do that thing, but he has now done this thing, and that's complicated and confusing to have both of the have both of those things, the at least the knowledge of one happen at the same time.
Yeah. No matter how you look at it, he did very much not only trying to kill everyone, but believed he succeeded.
Yes. So
And
he was absolutely uh, willing to kill people.
that's not exactly something that can be easily ignored.
No. Hmm.
Oh, it is it is a complex issue all the same.
Mm.
After all, a murderer is still a person,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, people don't exist without bonds.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in the end, well, it may take a long time for you to figure it out. Well, I guess I hope you figure it out one day.
Mm. Yeah. We. I'm not quite sure where we stand, but we've, I think, got an understanding of each other's motives enough now that we can begin to figure that out.
I guess a good place to start could be thinking about whether or not you still even want him in your life.
Mm.
Since once you figure out that part, it it should be easier to at least consider the others.
Mm-hmm. He. If he did remain in my life, it would still be uh, at a distance. I don't want to go back to Falagray. That's where he lives. He will be going back. We could
Yeah.
communicate, though, maybe.
Hmm. I imagine it'll probably be easier after you get the chance to talk to him more.
Yes. Yes. It's, yeah, I need to be able to evaluate him without the bias from what I had thought in the past, which wasn't true.
Mm-hmm. Emily can be pretty complicated.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that I already knew.
Well, I would certainly hope so.
I do wonder what he's been doing all this time.
That is a question.
Nothing to do but
Though,
ask, really.
yeah, I'm afraid I wouldn't really be able to help you there.
No, no.
600 years is a length of time I hope I don't get to see.
Indeed.
Thank you, Iggy.
Yeah, we'll make sure you don't have to.
No offense to you, of course.
No, no. I'm just built different.
He sort of scrunches his face. Who taught you that?
That would be Sharon. I learned most of my lingo from her.
Right. Unfortunately, that means I can't kick a soccer ball at them.
Hmm. Is there anything else about this that doesn't make sense to you?
Hmm. And he does think for a moment before he's just. Um, Depending on what kind of person Ivan is and how invested you are in
Hmm.
the outcome of a certain cult, you may want to talk to him about what he's going to do. Uh,
Mm. Mm. Yeah. That's, I don't know how to feel about that. It's, um, to be completely honest, I don't know if I want to try to stop him or help him.
Well, um, that is fair. I mean, I can't exactly say that people can't go on quests to avenge their family.
Mm-hmm.
Though I can say I would heavily recommend you don't murder.
Mm-hmm.
But um,
Yeah, oof.
knowing, yeah,
Well, maybe there's a chance I can reason him into something. Um, if he were to go essentially behind the government's back, he would probably go for murder. Um, if, however, he used the strategy of exposing them and getting them essentially tossed into Falagray's justice system, um, they would be able to be uh, punished without murder, since we don't technically have uh, the death penalty.
real nods. Right.
And honestly, that would be the easier option between the two, since it's such a large group of people and not just an individual.
And it would also help make sure that they don't just get a new group of people.
Quite.
Not to mention if it's revenge and suffering he's after, you can't exactly live to regret crossing someone if you aren't alive.
Quite. I do wonder. Mm, well, they wouldn't exile a group that large. I suppose they would most likely imprison them. Well, not ideal, but better than murder, I suppose.
Definitely better than murder. Though, I am. I am a little curious about the justice system in Valkyrie now, but I
Mm.
feel like that's probably too complex of a topic to get into right now.
Um, to explain the whole thing, yes. My brushes with it have been interesting. Um, I really only ran afoul of it in very minor ways when I was young. Um, just normal young people getting in trouble sort of things. Um, uh, when I left the planet, I was uh, exiled. There was that. Um, Essentially, because once I had left, escaped, really. It's not like they could really do much to me without capturing me, so exile, they can do that from afar. Um, and then later, when I displeased them, I was uh, forced to regenerate without a trial and exiled to a planet without the knowledge or ability uh, to travel through time or space until I earned that right back.
Camille sort of grimaces.
Yeah, that's, they only did that because they are, so stubborn about, not, killing anyone. They, they're very, uh, very proud of that development and upholding that standard, but the problem is you can still punish a time czar pretty severely without actually resorting to destroying them completely.
Ah, yeah.
Very much a matter of politics and cultural uh, pride and nonsense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
And then I guess um, a few other people um, I've interacted with, they just imprison in the uh, I would say one of if not the most um, secure prisons in the galaxy. Um, the entire planet is a prison, as a matter of fact. Um, that's one place they sometimes send the occasional severely misbehaving time SARS.
That does make sense. Imprisonment with lifespans that long would get
Mm. Yes, I had enough trouble with exile. I don't know if I would have. I think that kind of um, imprisonment would have messed me up even more.
I don't think I could blame you.
I mean, it probably had a fair um, influence on the person I did know, who eventually. Ah, yes, that's right. They told me he broke out, but he was actually released so that I would have more trouble, because I would have to deal with him.
Uh, Very messed up.
Very, very. But, well, I mean, I'm free now.
It is true. Oh, I do feel bad for the ellipsis.
Hmm.
She was really overworking herself.
Yes, I I heard she was in a bad way. I'll have to um, I might this I do know somebody. I hmm, uh yeah, I'll figure out um, something, uh, somebody to go in and just make sure things are fine while I'm unable to check it out myself.
I could probably, uh, I could help with that if you need.
Yes, I think I could. Thank you.
No problem. He gives the professor a little smile.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to thank the ellipsis for a lot after all.
Oh, yes. Always. I hope to be able to um, thank her in more than just words. I should be able to uh, get Ivan to uh, help me repair her quicker.
Well, he does certainly owe you.
Oh, yes. Hmm. Thank you for
Hmm?
saving the others.
Well, it's, it's what I do.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you anyway. That that must have been that must have been hard for you too.
And Phil pauses and looks like he is about to say something before Spades kind of gives him a quick little peck.
Mm-hmm.
And he pauses again and then sighs like it it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I imagine it must have been harder for you considering you
Mm. Well, uh, not to compare the two things, but yeah, no, it was that was very upsetting. I I was terrified.
yeah. I you're definitely not offending me with that. I know how it feels,
Mm.
and it is a lot easier when you can do something about it.
Mm. Well, I'm glad you were able to do something then.
Me too. You really have to thank Spades for a lot of it.
Huh. He's going to uh, reach over and scritch Spades' heads. Well, then, in that case, thank you very much, Spades.
Spades does happily preen at the gratitude.
uh,
Definitely isn't an experience I want to repeat, though.
no, me neither. Yeah, let's not do that again.
I'll I'll probably say something to Errata when he's properly feeling better.
Oh?
I'll as much as I'm glad that I was in a position where I could help everyone, I
Ah, right. The, decisions that were made during the first encounter.
yeah, because no matter how you look at it, either everyone was perfectly okay going into a situation where they could die in, or they just blindly trusted me to have a solution where they didn't die, no matter how stupid they were being.
Hmm. I'm
And
willing to bet that, for some of them, I can't speak for all of them, but uh, they may not have even been thinking through it that much. Um, they were, um, it seemed like they were in a large part acting on their instincts and their emotions, and that can really blind you to logic sometimes. So it's it's still their it's still on them in that they were not able to uh, uh, keep control of those emotions in order to think it through logically, but at the same time, I do understand and uh, can't attribute a particular uh, bad intention one way or the other. They shouldn't have left you with that responsibility, no.
yeah, if there was anyone who couldn't give in to their emotions, it would have definitely been me.
Hmm.
But you're right, they probably just weren't thinking.
Yeah. And it's hard when that's the case, because it's much easier to assign intention and blame to a degree. But ultimately, this is Ivan's fault.
Yeah.
And whatever bad decisions were made along the way, uh, all we can really do is acknowledge them and then move past them and try to do better next time, which I will note you all did. You did do much better in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. The I was a bit worried about the plan after the first time, but it went surprisingly well.
Yeah. It sounded like you all at least were more aware and taking more precautions, and that's probably a large part of why you succeeded.
He nods.
I'm quite proud of you all for uh, improving like that, for pulling it off.
I'm I'm glad. I'm, I know that I'm definitely doing a lot now.
Hmm. But yeah, you can still, all that to say, you can still talk to them about it, because they shouldn't have left so much burden to you. But um, I
It,
think most of them didn't mean to and would never want to um, allow that to happen again.
yeah, I know. It's I guess it's just easier if it's some sort of misjudgment or flaw that could be fixed rather than something that,
It's a little more ephemeral and hard to grasp.
yeah,
Yeah.
something that can't really be helped.
Hmm. I did manage to talk to Arata earlier. He does seem to be uh, doing better than when I was, uh, than when I started talking to him. So, uh, he might be amenable to a discussion.
Neil nods. I may wait just a little bit longer, um,
Mm-hmm.
just to be sure, because he, he does seem like the type who would use me saying something as a all the more reason he messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like you said, I know that at the end of the day, it's no one's fault but Ivan's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be, I think that could be smart. give him a little bit of time to process and distance himself from the raw emotion of the whole thing.
Yeah. It was just, like you said, it was just, terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've been in that position before, being the last one standing. Um, Sometimes at times when I wasn't capable of healing magic, so it was particularly frustrating for me, but nowadays, at least I have that.
It really is useful.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay to be upset about it. It was an awful situation for anybody to be in. I can think of the last time somebody I considered, I considered their safety my responsibility, went down in combat. Uh, I was I was very upset. Um,
Yeah.
they recovered, but it was still scary.
Yeah.
I think he just sort of uh, reaches and kind of gives him like a side hug.
Mhm. Yeah, Camille does lean into the side hug. I guess part of it is just that I um I didn't think that their safety and survival would be my responsibility until that happened. I mean, I know that I know that Tom can be reckless and no one's really above that, but considering that Arata's a leader and Moria's Moria,
Hmm. Yes, uh, you and uh, everybody else had uh, no reason to think that it would go quite that poorly. Uh, Maybe it would be reasonable to expect that it would go poorly, but maybe not quite like that.
yeah,
I mean, you knew he was powerful, but uh, it uh, it just didn't go well, and you were all caught off guard, and he had time to a little bit a time to prepare.
yeah, It
Mm.
it really was just. I mean, I looked up to all of them in more than the literal sense, of course. But
Yes,
I'm.
it can be
Oh,
disappointing to see those people fail you.
yeah. Um, Considering the last time that happened, I'm just glad that everyone's alive and still around for me to be disappointed in them.
Hmm. When you say the last time,
Oh, uh, remember what I said when I said that I know what it feels like? The the last time was uh mom.
ah,
I was still pretty naive back then. I didn't think that anything could get her.
no, of course. I know what you mean.
Yeah. He leans into Professor a bit more. I guess I'm just trying to say that I really am glad that everyone's okay.
Yeah, yes, me too. I can see how that would have reminded you.
Yeah, but I was able to do something this time, and
Mm-hmm.
no matter how it, no matter how annoyed I am that I was put in that situation,
Mm.
I am glad I was in it.
Mm. Yeah, and from the sounds of it, you did a very good job.
Crisis mode does have its uses.
This is true.
It also, I suppose, helps that sometimes situations like this can happen in my day job.
Mm-hmm.
Not this exact situation, of course, but
Uh,
oh,
Combat and harrowing chases and escapes and stakes, people um, being close to death, etc.
yeah. I mean, there was this one time where I had to keep a guy stable from poison for about 10 minutes before the ambulance arrived.
Oh
So
gosh. Well, good thing you know so much about poison.
you kind of have to in my line of work.
Yes, yes, I suppose. Still, that's quite the task.
Yeah. But,
But it means you have some practice
yeah.
for
So,
emergencies.
and I'm glad that I do.
Yeah. It can really come in handy sometimes.
Yeah. Do, uh,
Hmm.
do you think that you'll be alright? Eventually, I mean.
Yes. Yes. I will.
That's good.
It's been a lot, but uh but I'll recover. I'll I'll be all right. Especially
Alright.
since I have all of you here.
Camille smiles at that, and we're very happy to have you here.
I'm glad.
Camilla's now trying to think of ways to say that you're part of the family whether you like it or not without
Aww.
uh
Uh-huh.
without, insinuating the whole family part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh I think eventually he just settles like on, well, you are stuck with us after all.
Yes. I I'm beginning to realize that I really wouldn't want it any other way.
Because at this point, I don't think you have any other choice.
That's all right.
I know in my personal experience, I especially didn't have any other choice after getting kidnapped.
Ah. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that sort of thing helps people realize rather abruptly um, how much they care for each other.
Yeah, you, you'd be surprised.
Hmm.
I, I don't know if, I
Hmm.
have, uh,
I don't
Camille's
know
just
if I do either, so.
yeah, Camille's just handing me like settling in next to the professor and
Mm-hmm. It's being
turning
cozy.
his attention. yeah, getting all cozy and turning his attention to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Woohoo. All right. That was great.
It was. Thank you, Oatmeal.
Thank you. Ooh. All right. That was a lovely FPS. But that will do it for us. So, thank you, audience, both present and future, for listening. Uh, we will bid you all a good time zone. Goodbye.
Bye.